Okay, ready? 3, 2, 1.
Hello, everyone. Happy Friday. Today is Friday, I want to get the date right, 8th of April, 2022. Brigadier General Matt Higer broadcasting to you from the PA studios at the center of the Aerospace Testing Universe. Here, as I almost always am, with my trusty wingman, Chief D. Ward-Swanigan. Chief, happy Friday.
Happy Friday.
We are going to start off today's presentation admiring two things and then acknowledging two outstanding people, and then chatting with them a little bit. So the first thing that I want to acknowledge is that it's a beautiful flag standing behind us, and that is actually physically here, right? It's actually not virtual. So we're going to have that in studio with us all day today. I think events in the world right now drive home the fact that you have a lot to be proud of as Americans. Your country means a lot to the world. It stands for the right things in the world, and we can be very, very proud of events that are happening around the world that we are on the right side of history on. And in addition to that, today was a massive historical precedent in our world as we watched a Supreme Court justice be made that was of historical precedent. It was a great day to be an American. Many days are, and today was certainly at the top, if not near the top of my list of days to do that. So the other thing that's kind of cool behind us is that, and I promise Erica will get to you in a second, sorry to keep you on camera this time, is that the picture in the background that's being broadcast on the magic green wall is that of a C-47 that is, I think, actually one of the airplanes that participated in D-Day. If not, it was one of the same genre of aircraft, and it is decked out in D-Day attire. It is often on the ramp at Tedx Professional School, and it is one of the most awesome tail draggers in the world, and it is one on my to-be-flown list. So I'll figure that out at some point later. But it's a great picture, a great piece of history, and they're typically here for every class at Tedx Professional School as they learn how far we've progressed in aircraft and human factors and stuff like that. So with that all said, as the two really cool and proud moments, let me brag on a couple individuals here. What you are going to see and observe live and in real time, for those of you that are watching live, is you're going to see the presentation of two medals to some just outstanding leaders and airmen. The thing that these two did, I'll brag on them after the fact, but right now I'm going to have Chief read the medal citation for an Air Force Commendation Medal. So, Chief, Sergeant Giese and I will stand at attention, and I'll have you publish the order.
Attention to orders. This is to certify the Air Force Commendation Medal, 1st Oak Leaf Cluster, has been awarded to Technical Sergeant Erica Giese. 30 November 2021 to 4 January 2022. Sergeant Giese distinguished herself by outstanding achievement as Edwards Single Point Screening Test Facility Non-Commissioned Officer in Charge, 412 Test Wing from 30 November 2021 to 4 January 2022. During this period, she designed, organized, tested, and operated Air Force Materiel Command's only centralized COVID-19 Single Point Screening Test Facility. In this important assignment, Sergeant Giese's outstanding leadership and devotion to duty were instrumental factors in the stand-up of the facility. She synthesized guidance from the Department of Defense's Headquarters Air Force Materiel Command, and the 412 Test Wing to design an efficient process to provide screening testing for over 1,000 people weekly while following strict health protocols. Additionally, Sergeant Giese conducted a beta test of over 40 personnel and applied lessons learned to improve the operations at the facility. Furthermore, she provided flawless oversight of tens of thousands of dollars of resources by securing thousands of COVID-19 testing kits and sanitation supplies to support Air Force Plant 42, the 412 Test Wing, Air Force Test Center, and other mission partners. Finally, she was responsible for managing appointments, tasking and training augmentees, and coordinating with numerous space agencies. All of her duties directly contributed to protecting the health and safety of the base population during a period of record high positive COVID-19 cases. The distinctive accomplishments of Sergeant Giese reflect credit upon herself and the United States Air Force.
These are earned, not given. And I'm proud to pin one on you. All right, forward face. All right, so in virtual land, everybody's going to now do this. As if we were all in a big town hall on a stage. Poke your head in here, Brittany. Come on screen. Hi, Brittany.
Hi.
Brittany's my prof firm. She's also my new executive assistant. I'm glad you're on the team, and thanks for being here. All right, we'll do this for your family members that aren't here and with us today, but that is an awesome picture, and I couldn't be more proud of you.
Thank you, sir.
All right. Okay.
Awesome.
Again, well done. All right, we're going to swap out. So an NCO, join me please, Lieutenant Belongin. An NCO wouldn't get to dominate as NCO if they didn't get to work with an appropriately high-performing CGO. And so to hear a little bit more about that, we're going to pin a decoration on this fine lieutenant to my left now. So Chief, if you wouldn't mind again, publish the order.
Yes, sir. Attention to orders. This is to certify that the Air Force Commendation Medal has been awarded to First Lieutenant Christina Belongin, 24 November 2021 to 28 January 2022. Lieutenant Belongin distinguished herself by outstanding achievement as Edwards Single Point Screening Test Facility Officer in Charge, 412 Test Wing, from 24 November 2021 to 28 January 2022. During this period, she designed, organized, tested, and operated Air Force Materiel Command's only centralized COVID-19 single-point screening test facility. In this important assignment, her outstanding leadership and devotion to duty were instrumental factors in the stand-up of the facility. She synthesized guidance from the Department of Defense's Headquarters Air Force Materiel Command, and the 412 Test Wing to design an efficient process to provide screening testing for over 1,000 people weekly while following strict health protocols. Additionally, Lieutenant Belongin conducted a beta test of over 40 personnel and applied lessons learned to improve operations at the facility. Furthermore, she regularly adapted the facility's policies and procedures to stay current with ever-changing policies and local conditions. Finally, she provided flawless oversight of tens of thousands of dollars of resources by securing thousands of COVID-19 testing kits and sanitation supplies to support Air Force Plant 42, the 412 Test Wing, Air Force Test Center, and other mission partners. All of her duties directly contributed to protecting the health and safety of the base population during a period of record high positive COVID-19 cases. The distinctive accomplishments of Lieutenant Belongin reflect credit upon herself and the United States Air Force.
Give me your lapel. There you go. Normally there's a quiet conversation that happens, but since we're being broadcast live, I'll save all those for another moment. All right, forward face. All right. That's you. Pretend your family or you're out there for the camera will hold still so they can go snap, snap. All right, that's yours.
Thank you, sir.
Well done. All right. Okay, rounds of applause, everybody. All right. These two are also going to be our guests here in about 1 minute while we blank the screen, reset the stage, and then we'll be back. And we'll hear from these brand new award recipients about some of the challenges of what they just accomplished and were awarded for. So hang with us, folks. We'll be right back. And magically, here we are again, reconfigured on stage. Folks, we're going to talk to these two Warriors of the Week, a little bit about what they've done, what they thought was the biggest challenge, and then maybe the legacy that they've left by initiating that. While you're listening to them and our discussions here, the number is now on the bottom of the screen. This is a town hall. We always want your ideas, your good, your bad, your ugly, what is good, bad, ugly about the installation that you want to get to us. Your critiques, your comments, your questions, your hey, are you awares of? As always, the number that you can text those into is 707-412-8922. In studio with me right now is the person on the other end of that. If they have clarifying questions, they'll banter back and forth with you, and we'll get them on the air. So we intend to do that with the balance of our broadcast here in the last at least 30 plus minutes. and Chief and I will handle those. Actually, Chief will handle them all, and then I'll just be here on camera and enjoy watching her knock those questions out. So while you're thinking about what you want to get to us or from us, and you're firing into that number 702-412-8922, I'd like to just have a quick little conversation here with Lieutenant Christina Belongin, and then a fine NCO, Tech Sergeant Erica Giese. The first question I have, and I'll ask Christina first. The first question I have for the two of you is, when you got the "Hey, you're it," how close was what you thought you had been tagged to go do to what you actually ended up doing? And so, Christina, I'll let you try and answer that question first. And for those of you that don't know what these two got tagged to do, the single point screening test facility was the facility that we stood up. It's currently in dormant status, so we can pull it out of mothballs again when we need it. But we have a mandate at elevated HPCon levels to screen those that are on the base before they go into DoD facilities. At Edwards, we elected to do that at a single point facility for a whole bunch of reasons. And so that's what these two, hey, here's my vision, go build it and do it. And so when you got the tasking, you're it, what do you initially think of versus what did it actually turn into be? I'm interested to know your thoughts on that. So over to you.
Of course, sir. So funny enough, it all started with my squadron commander, Lieutenant Colonel Munoz, if you're watching, thank you. He
M3, do you hear that? Thank you. We can decide, thank you very little.
No.
Sir, may I have another, right?
No, it was awesome. Honestly, I had no idea what I was getting myself into. He kind of just called me up and he was like, LT, can I put your name up for something, for the test meeting? I was just like, sure, sir. And then initially I had also thought that it was going to be like a 3-week gig, because that's kind of like the time frame that he was like, yeah, it's most likely going to be a 3-week thing. Are you going to be free during those 3 weeks? I was like, yeah, of course, sir.
So what you didn't hear on her declaration is it was late November to late January.
Yes.
So it ended up being more than double that amount of time, almost triple. So,
yes,
so it was
sir.
3 weeks of execution-ish and a lot more time planning,
Right,
which is
right.
what we ended up going.
So yeah, like I said, I had no idea what I was walking myself into, but after talking with Major Lombach, with you, the rest of the team, I was just like kind of overwhelmed, and I was like, oh, well, this is a huge thing, but it was actually quite exciting. I kind of took that as like an opportunity to see like how things would all kind of come together and play out, and it was really exciting for me. So as nerve-wracking as it was, I'm glad to have had the opportunity to go through it. And definitely the main concern was, okay, well, this is like the first centralized screening facility in all of the MAGCOM, right? So I was kind of curious as to see how we could make this process the most efficient. And I think that was our main concern for sure in the beginning. So getting that ready, kind of just like dotting our I's, crossing our T's, everything just in place for us to vision what it would look like. That was where most of our time was spent in the beginning. And then after the beta test, I mean, we were pretty comfortable. Like I would say day 1, day 2. We were like, oh, this is not too bad. And of course, right, like the actual the load of how many people were coming in through to test and stuff, that all changed, of course, once we finally went live. And so there were changes that we had to make on the fly. And so those were challenging, but we ultimately overcame it pretty well. So. Yeah, just it's a whole experience.
So what you initially envisioned to what it ended up being dramatically different.
Yes.
I had no idea what I was getting into is kind of your one-line answer, but thanks for the additional stuff. Sergeant Giese, from your initial, hey, congratulations, you're it, to what it ended up being, how was that from your perspective? Because you two didn't, I don't even know if you two knew each other before you walked into the Commander's Action Group, and hey, congratulations, here's your wingman. So what was it, and then relative to what it envisioned for you?
Very similar. I was under the impression it was going to be a part-time thing, and so when I signed up for it, they were like, oh yeah, start full-time tomorrow, and so that was surprising right off the bat. I went into it without knowing anything. They were just like, you're going to stand up this facility. There was nothing. This wasn't anything that I've done in the past, so it was all new. We learned a lot along the way, and I think every agency around base helped us. When we didn't know what we were doing, everyone was really supportive and provided us with guidance and different ideas and different outlooks. And it was really great working for you, sir, because the whole time you just empowered us, and whatever we thought was the best idea, you were supportive the whole time.
That's what he does.
Yeah.
Yes, I wholeheartedly agree, sir.
Yeah, so I will tell you, so I know, so I remember these kind of tasks for me, and I'll be really blunt. It's been a couple decades, right, since I was a lieutenant, and I get, hey, congratulations, here's your task, right? But I remember those being just awesome experiences and great learning and growing moments that at the time I'm like, you want me to do what? Right? And then I get told, same thing that I know that we chatted about briefly, you got all the basic leadership skills. This is something new and different. Nobody's ever done it before. At Edwards, we do firsts all the time. It's what we do. We learn as we move along, and then we stamp it and call it a best practice, and everybody else copies us, right? And so that is literally what happened. The thing you two stood up, literally, is available for replication across the service, and other folks have taken big chunks of what you did and implemented at their installations. So I'm not at all surprised that that was your initial reactions, and I'm also, you need to know, and I told you that then, I had no flinch, no doubt, no hesitation whatsoever to go, here you go, LT. But as you know, and you probably knew it before, but you definitely know it now, I'm not going to give a CGO a crushingly difficult and complex problem without giving that CGO an awesome wingman in the form of an NCO. And I'm not going to give an NCO a crazy task without the top cover of a commissioned officer. And so from day one, hour one, like, you guys are a team, slightly different roles, but there's nothing incompatible about OIC and NCOIC, right? Those are, to me, like two halves of the same yin yang, right, circle, or whatever else you want to call it. And I think you guys were a great example of that. And so I'm very proud. We didn't know what we were going to do or what it was exactly going to look like. In fact, we didn't even know where it was going to be. And I think figuring all that out in time for us to then launch when we finally got supplies, that's actually, folks, I don't know if you knew this, but the thing that held us back, we had a mandate that when I tasked these two, we had a mandate. The problem is we didn't have the resources or the supplies to do it. So they had to figure out, I didn't imagine that part of your job was going to be working with DLA and figuring out the logistics tail and how do we ship and how can we buy and all that. So there's all kinds of learning that you just don't know you're going to need until you got it. But you can probably speak dollars better. You can spell DLA and a lot of things there. A lot of medical history. So for those of you who don't know, Sergeant Giesi's an air traffic controller, and Lieutenant Belongin's a comm troop. So this was outside of their technical lanes, but well within their leadership capabilities and expertise, which is why when Chief and I talked about what ranks, what grades, senior staff, tech sergeant, and ironically you were both in the window, right? Senior staff and tech, and a solid CGO. So that's what we picked and why. For those of you that don't know, the initial 3-week task was, build this up, get it running operational, and then immediately start training your replacements. And the way that I think the teams handed off a total of 3 or 4 times, handed off 3 times for a total of 4 teams, and then the final team put it into mothball or bed down status. I predict that we will stand up this capability again, and so the processes and the procedures and the confidence that you two build in the population here will pay dividends in the future, and so fantastic. So, because turnabout's fair play, we'll go to Sergeant Giesi first. What question do you have for me? Nothing off the table. You two are the warriors of the week that we wanted to highlight, but turnabout fair play. What you got for me? Not in a feedback, but what do you want to know? So we'll start the question and answers with you two. And I'm going to ask the lieutenant here next.
Just any type of question?
Fire away.
Okay.
If I can't answer it, I give the hard ones to Chief anyway.
Okay. What are the plans for childcare on base for those that are struggling to get a spot at the CDC?
So that is an exceptionally awesome question, very timely. And I'm going to give you a long-range answer, and then walk it back to short term. And the short term answer ain't good and ain't fun. The long range answer is that Air Force Services Center has a strategy that they launched about a year ago on we need to have places and spaces and a path to get to capacity Air Force wide that we need, so that we don't fix it at one installation and then you PCS to your next installation, you have another problem there, right? We want to fix it Air Force wide and set DoD, but at least Department of the Air Force wide, you can expect this level of capacity at all of these places. So it's not different at Eglin than it is at Edwards, different than Cannon versus Mountain Home, right? So there's a strategy there. Colonel Chris Parrish is the Air Force Services Center commander. The strategy that he wrote, I think he was the signatory on it too, adds in an expectation from MILCON to build out the physical facilities at some places and spaces. Often the way that we grow CDC size or get new additional buildings is when there's mission bed down. So the example that I am most familiar with is when F-35 literally landed as a project in a program at Eglin, they recapitalized the CDCs. And they have, I think it's a total of 4 CDC buildings there for their gigantic active duty population there. And the MILCON flowed as part of the bed down for the F-35 program there. The difference between Edwards and installation and, between Eglin the installation and Edwards the installation is that we don't often get gigantic mission bed down that shows up with a bunch of, hundreds or thousands of additional military bodies with MILCON that flows. So our strategy has to be different here. And that's where the strategy from Services Center really comes into play because it doesn't say MILCON of a new building, it just says MILCON. And so we have, I don't know if you've been to the CDC yet, but you clearly have, and I've been through there many times. There are ways that we can build out, especially north. I think that's the right direction. There's the main long hallway, and then there's that one spur that goes off. We can build out that direction at least an additional 2 to 4, but maybe 6 classrooms and still have plenty of dirt out there. Shouldn't be any major increases in water, sewer, probably not even electrical capacity. HVAC will need to be expanded because that's enough different square footage there. But we have a MILCON project that we are putting the planning of the plan together to build out the physical building there, and we're going to get it on the unfunded requirements list, and we may be able to build that incrementally out to increase the physical space at our CDC. And so that's a long-range plan. If you have a child, and I'm not going to divulge your family information, but if you have a child that is in CDC today, no matter how young they are, I can't deliver that additional capacity at our CDC physically before they graduate. Right? That's just the timeline we're looking at. But that is the path we're going down. And the why matters. The why is that at this installation, it isn't just active duty parents of children that are eligible for CDC. It's everybody here that needs to have access to that child care facility. Airmen of all uniform types, including civilians, would benefit from having the ability to roll in a prioritized manner their children there. And so I often get that question that you asked me from civilians, right? And the problem is the same no matter what color or type of uniform you wear, civilian clothes or a military uniform. If I can't get a spot at the CDC, my spouse and I have to do crazy things to our schedule to handle that. There's no or a limited set of in-home care providers on base. COVID smashed all that. Is that ever going to reconstitute? Maybe. But it's a voluntary status. People have to opt into that. So we enable that, we encourage it, but I don't think that's coming back at scale, and it's not reliable. A CDC is reliable. So if you end up off base, that's the default Air Force answer is, oh, that'll handle that off base. Yeah, good luck, right? They're all smashed too, right? Mm-hmm. And a lot of those providers are out of business from the pandemic also. The other item, and this is where it starts to hit our mission, and this is where I really start pounding on the table. Hey, people making decisions on whether or not we need more capacity at our CDC, come live the life for a day or a week. And then let's talk about drive time. And then let's remind folks that have children in CDC, as I have, mine are a little bit older now, but that clock starts when you drop your child off and ends when you pick your child up. And there are limits on A, how long you want your child in that care, but B, there are actual limits on how long they can be in there before you start to run afoul of some rules, regulations, and in some cases some laws. And so let's say that's a 10-hour mark, which is what it was for my family when my wife and I had our kids at CDC. You drop somebody off 10 hours later, they got to be walking out with you, or you get some serious grief. Well, if in that 10 hours you got to drive 2 hours, Your now maximum duty day is 8. Well, that's no breaks, no lunch, no overflow, no overtime, no nothing. And that's where it hits the mission. And I think the combination of those two things, we have a plan, we're building out a plan to execute, and then there's the mission impact because of the drive distances that will help our request for that MILCON march up the line. And then I need stories, Chief and I need stories of families that are impacted, not in a hypothetical, but an actual. We can say, hey, see this picture without names? This is a family that because we don't have the right size CDC here, they have to do this and this and this and this and this. That's not the right thing for that family, and it's not the right thing for our mission because we lose the parents' capability and contributions because they're doing the right thing and caring for their kids, right? And so if you, anybody listening to this, has a vignette that you'd like to give us, Chief and I are building a 3-ring binder of here's what we're doing to folks that live and work on Edwards because we're not right size for housing, we're not right size for CDC, we're not right size for a few other things. That's the kind of stories we need to realize that vision. Now, Sergeant Giese, you asked the question, what are you doing? That's a long lead item that I've just talked about. What we're doing right now is we are usually limited by staff. We're not usually limited by physical facility, although I think there's enough demand that we could easily consume all the physical facilities. We're trying to build that out too. So what we're doing right now is we're actively recruiting folks that want to be child care providers in the CDC. I think we are being helped dramatically by the, I think it's an executive order. If not, it's some level policy like that that mandates the $15 an hour minimum floor. That will not just drive the entry-level wage for CDC workers or NAF employees, but it'll reset the whole pay scale. So it won't just be the bottom that crunches, it'll be the whole pay scale will shift, which should be a recruiting and retention tool for us, for people that are, and I have tremendous respect for people that want to be care providers at places like CDC.
I agree.
Yeah. I mean, I lived with 2 that shared DNA with me, and I can't imagine doing that all day, every day with up to like 20 of them, right? I mean, I got huge respect for those teachers, and that's what they are, folks. They are teachers, and my kids refer to the folks that they had in that role as teachers as well. So that's really the theory of constraints that we continue to work on through FSS today to increase that. One of the things that you two contributed to dramatically was screening, right? So if we can screen somebody and then not take out a large number of students, so to speak, because of a quarantine or an isolation, that helps capacity. And there are other items along those lines. So that's an incomplete answer, and I wish I had a more complete answer to that question. You're not the first one to ask, you won't be the last. Continue to ask the question, continue to be a demanding customer of mine, and continue to be a demanding customer of the Air Force, and frankly, of our elected officials also. Right? A lot of my restraints and my constraints are imposed upon us. They're not ones that I choose to have, and I'll take any wingmanship I can along the way. That's not a satisfying response, and that's a lot of words, but that's the full answer, and that's as transparent as I can possibly dish it to you. And I won't say, did that answer it, because you're like, nope, you didn't tell me how it's going to get better. That's CDC. School Age Center has a similar problem, but we have some pop-off and relief valves. And one of those pop-off and relief valves for the School Age Annex, the School Age Center, is that we have a partnership with the high school that we're likely going to implement next fall. So that if as a high school student you want to learn to be an auto mechanic, you got those options. If you want to learn to be a jet mechanic or an airframe and power plant mechanic, we have those options as well with the maintenance group. And we're also working on a partnership that will allow high school students supervised to be care providers in the School Age Annex. So that should open up a lot of capacity at the School Age Annex. I don't think we're going to go there for CDC because that won't help them. They need full day care, not before and after. So the high schoolers wouldn't help full day. They could only help before and after. So that's one of the ways we're working at it and helping on it.
Thank you.
Well, you're welcome. I wish I had a solution, and trust me, if I did, I wouldn't be holding back. But that's where we're marching out. If you or if anyone wants to give us a vignette, here's my family's story as it relates to this topic or this topic or this topic. Get it to me, get it to Chief. Text in your name and your contact information. We would love to get that from you and put it in our 3-ring binder of, hey, is this really what you want airmen doing? And no, well, why are we doing it? Why are we doing this? Why are we doing this? We want and we need that. Short question, overly long answer, but Lieutenant Belongin, you've had time to think about your question. What do you want to know? What do you want to pin me down on?
Well, I guess I kind of wanted to know if there was any quotes or anything that you've heard, seen recently that really just stuck out to you and why?
Wow. I mean, a lot, right? One of the things that I have learned over time about me learning, I have been a person I'll say most, if not my entire adult life, that I've enjoyed learning new and cool things. Eventually, I learned that it wasn't just that I enjoyed learning the new and cool thing. I just flat out enjoyed the learning, right? Not randomly learning for learning's sake, not being a professional student per se. You know, I know people or know of people that just stay in school forever. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about I want to learn more about. I'm going to go back to some wisdom, and it's just like bold, italicized, underlined, capitalized word wisdom that I received from this just awesome mentor of mine, and her name is, probably was, I don't know if she's still alive, but her name was Alice. And Alice was someone that watched me and helped me and mentored me for 5 years, from the ages of 18 to 23. I'll tell you what Alice did here in a second. But Alice said to me, and to a lot of folks, but if you engage in conversation with her, she would say, what do you want to do with your life? How much more do you want to go? What do you want to do with your degree? You know, that kind of stuff. And she said that I don't know if it was believes, assesses, or knows, or whatever, that the more you know about one thing, see, the more you know about, what's your degree?
Psychology.
Yeah, so the more you know about psychology, like the more you know about psychology, the more you have to know about other related fields, right? And that building pyramid was, if you knew everything there was to know about psychology, everything, you would probably know most of everything in all the related fields, and maybe a lot of fields that weren't even, in that case, behavioral science, right, or social science, right? You'd probably know a lot about stats, and a lot about math, and a lot about coding, and you see where I'm going with that. Now, who was Alice? Alice was, and she described herself as, she was the secretary in the aerospace engineering department at USC, where I went to school. And so she watched baby freshmen show up, and then 10 years later, she watched those people get PhDs, and then she watched them show up as professors. So she watched generations of super excited, bright people from all walks of life, genders, and everything, show up, bright-eyed, bushy-tailed, wide, and then learn. And that was where she got the basis of her knowledge, and she had a high school diploma. But that wisdom really, really, really struck me, in that it doesn't matter what's hanging on your wall. It matters what you actually learn. And frankly, it matters that you keep learning more along the way. And those kind of resonate very, very deeply with me. And I think that philosophy serves the Air Force well. We are a learning service. And the more you learn about one thing in the Air Force, like your thing, like when you're the chief that runs all of air traffic control, you're also going to know everything that there is to know about all the related OSS enlisted career fields. You're going to know a crazy amount about the officer career fields. You're going to know what it's like, because you've been there, about all of the enlisted ranks. You're going to have a crazy amount of knowledge about many of the officer ranks, to include promotions and OPRs and all that other stuff too. And conversely, when you're like the 2/3 star, maybe 4-star, in charge of whatever command, you're going to have learned along the way as you get more and more and more depth in your career field and in your tasks. You're going to learn a lot along the way. So that pyramid, that building block of knowledge that Alice was so succinctly elegant, that I am clearly not, in talking about, dramatically applies to our service and our profession as well. So that's it. And if you wanted me to, what's the quote I've heard recently? The quote I've heard recently that I continue to go back to is from our SecAF, Secretary Frank Kendall. His 3 priorities: China, China, China. And that should really drive, and that should really focus us too. So when I combine what Alice taught me when I was 18 and what I heard from Secretary Kendall in my 28th year of service, those two are very, very, very much aligned, and everything in between has helped too. So good chatting with you too. way to flip the table and make me talk more than you two. Well done. I'm very proud of you two. We'll let you walk off stage here. Chief will join me on camera, and we'll get to the audience questions, comments, and critiques in a minute. I'm very proud of both of you. What you stood up in the SPSTF is huge. When we need to unpickle that and execute it again in the future, know that your legacy will continue. And there's a lot of airmen here that you helped protect while you helped us be efficient with the policy implementation that we didn't get a choice to do. I am very proud of what you did, and I'm very proud to have worked with you and for you in that lane. So well done. See, and it wasn't too bad. All right, thanks. Have a good Friday, you two. All right, let's go to our first question. So if you want to pop over to that, and we'll go from there. I got somebody on camera over here. All right, Olaf, you're up. What they got for us? So I see it there on the screen. Olaf, you don't have a mic yet. All right. What are the planned events, speakers on Tedx? Can you somebody put it back up? I think there we go. Texting your questions, comments, critiques, 707-412-8922. The question is, what are the planned event speakers for the Edwards Tedx on 22 April? And then, is it a Wingman Day? I don't know who asked the question, but I appreciate the hint. No, it is not a Wingman Day. So let me talk real fast about the titles of these days, right? So a Wingman Day is everybody stops all mission, and our mission on a Wingman Day at an installation is team building, specific, bring your family onto base, bring a kid to work day even though we're not doing the mission, tours, carnival atmosphere, team building, you name that. A Wingman Day construct is actually incompatible with what we intend to do at Tedx. And so no, it is not a Wingman Day. If you say, when are we going to have the next Wingman Day, boss? I say, I don't know, because I want to do smaller level team building things as we build back out of the pandemic into the new normal. I predict that one is in the future, but I don't know if it's it's probably in the midterm future for a Wingman Day. The next one down is like a training day. A training day is typically led by the maintenance group, where we shut down sortie generation for the day so they can get back to speed or get up to speed on the tasks that they need to train on to stay proficient in sortie generation. And there's a lot of operations group and some engineering disciplines that pile on that to do upgrades and training and the like. But that's a training day. Is a training day incompatible with Tedx? Kinda, and that's why it's also not a training day, because I want the people that would normally be in training events at maintenance group, in ops group, and other related tasks at this, primarily the CTFs, to be able to attend and fully participate in Tedx. So it is, however, 22 April is a no-fly day. And so that should allow folks to spend a large part of their day in Building 1600, observing the Tedx speakers. The event is close to online. I wish I knew where it was. I'll phone a friend, help, but get it to us. It does start at 8 a.m. It is in Building 1600. There'll be a corridor that if you park there that you walk in. There are food trucks that'll be there. You've got a full lineup of speakers. And I'm excited about the event and the day. This will be the second Tedx we've had at Edwards. Not quite going to be annual, but we'll go there. Chief, anything you want to correct me 100% on Tedx or your thoughts?
No, sir. I was curious to see how you were going to list out all of the speakers, because there's quite a lineup. It's too many to name, in fact, but I'm looking forward to the event as well.
Yes, awesome. And it's going to be an awesome event. So that's April. I'll mention it now anyway. Don't forget, we got the 75th anniversary of Supersonic flight. We have the 75th birthday of the Air Force. We're going to celebrate those in September and specifically around the open house in mid-October on Columbus Day weekend. That's when we're having that open house. It's really not, everybody refers to it as an air show. That will be a part of it, but it isn't just an air show. It's a big STEM event. It's an open house. There's a lot of other things on those 3 days. Friday will be closed to the public, but we will have big events going on. A lot of kids in for STEM activities, other things like that. That'll be the practice day for the Thunderbirds, and then Saturday, Sunday open to the public. Monday, holiday, we'll try and reconstitute the ramp and the mission so that we can move out of the chocks on Tuesday afternoon after the holiday. picking up. So that'll be our next big event.
Sir, I have a shout out, if I may.
Sure.
So as you know, I was TDY this week, and I just got back on Wednesday, but I had the pleasure of attending the Air Force Sergeants Association Division 6 Professional Airmen's Conference. Say that fast 3 times.
No joke.
And we were in Vegas, and we took home a lot of wins, and I'm not talking about on the slot machine. So real quick, I want to give a shout out to our AFSA Division 6 Top Airman of the Year Award recipient, Airman Kylie O'Neill. She will go on to compete at the international level. And then the chapter itself, 1328, won the over 500 member chapter of the year. They will also compete, or we will also compete at the international level. We also had the second highest recruiter out of the division who also received the Division 6 President's Award for Excellent Achievement, and that was Tech Sergeant Jeremy Pitts. So I was really proud.
That is fantastic.
And we also had Chief Master Sergeant of the Air Force number 11, Chief Dave Campanelli, with some words of wisdom. So it was just a great event. But
That's cool.
yeah.
That's cool. Winnings in Vegas that weren't in the casinos, right? That's the kind of winnings you like, because they're not taxable, right? So fantastic. Chief, thanks for representing the wing and the installation there.
Yes, sir.
At the senior leader level. And congratulations to those award winners. You are now on the list of, you may have to come here and have those conversations, which really aren't that
Warrior
bad.
of the week.
As you just saw with the lieutenant and the NCO. Okay. All right, Olaf, I hope we answered that first question. If not, I'm ready for the next one. While that's showing up, I will tell you, I think it was last week, I don't know if it was 1 week or 2 ago, but there was a question about housing and housing costs. What are you doing to offset the housing or housing costs? I answered the question as if the question was being asked or was asked about active duty members. We found out after the broadcast that the person was also interested, or maybe even primarily interested in, what are we doing to offset housing costs for our civilian airmen? That is an exceptional question, and so if we're not answering the question that you've asked, by all means hit us immediately with, hey, that's interesting, but what I really meant or what I really wanted to was it. So don't be shy about asking that question. In that case, for our civilian airmen, we don't have a way to, there's no such thing as a civilian BAH. There is, however, locality pay, and locality pay is something set by the Office of Personnel Management. It's regional and it's based on job series. So there's a regional adjustment for Southern California, which is a healthy percentage. And then on top of that, there are some career fields that get additional special salary rates. There's one career field right now that we continue to fight for to get your special salary rate. I'm not going to name it on air, but trust us, I'm not saying no. I'm not giving up. We have a validated requirement, but I haven't been able to convince higher headquarters to align funding to that. It's resonating well. We're getting good visibility and good traction at the Air Force Materiel Command staff, and it's a fight that I do not intend to quit or to give up on, to make sure that we get that special salary rate inclusion on the books for the airmen that wear a uniform that don't look like this, that look like civilian clothes, to help you offset some of those increasing costs. For everything else that has to do with our civilian airmen, it's what is OPM doing for federal government civilians in the local area as well. If there's a specific idea or a specific story or a specific vignette that you as an airman on the air patch here at the Center of the Aerospace Testing Universe to include Plant 42, that you would like to give us hey, what about this idea, what about that idea, and absolutely I'm willing to give you my family's story or my airman's story so that we can get more availability at CDC or more access at capability XYZ, give it to us. We will take it. Stories are so powerful for Chief and I to have when we can show a picture. See this family? Look at what they're doing as selfless service and sacrifice for our nation. And those are super powerful things for us to have as we interface with policymakers, decision makers, and in some cases, congressional delegations and their staffs. So I hope that follows through and gives a complete answer to the question that was asked previous town hall, and let you know if you ask now, if you can interface with us, we'll give you a better and more precise answer. So with that said, Captain O, what you got?
So this question made me quite ravenous, if I may say. Are there any plans for any additional food options and eateries opening in the near future on base?
I'm going to give the one-word response and then let Chief give the rest of it. And the answer is yes. And then I'll let Chief give you the rest of that answer.
Yes, so we can talk about a few things. We have micro marts that are underway. We got one installed at the security forces that mirrors what we have at AFRL. We have 2 more on the way. I'm not sure if that'll go in building 3,000, lodging, or maybe some other location. But that's just like the quick snack option as opposed to driving all the way over to the Express. For those folks, we are still, as far as I know, on board for the SolidWorks. So still working through that. And then there was also a pizza, I forget the name slips my mind, but there's also a pizza option that's going to be coming to the Express as well. So right now, those are the things that come to mind in regards to other food options. What am I missing, sir?
Not a whole lot. We're making Captain Olnick salivate. So a couple things that a lot of us know about, but we often don't consider. I had lunch at the DFAC.
Oh, absolutely.
Today,
That's
right?
a good one.
So don't forget about the DFAC, right? If they're open,
That's new.
We're at HPCon Alpha, and you can get on the base, you are welcome to go eat a meal at the DFAC, and they would love to have you there. So I was there to join a crowd this afternoon, or it was actually at 11, so we showed up. Had an awesome wrap made by an exceptional food service professional. And while I was there, I was walking into the area to sit down. I had a retiree pull me aside, and his spouse works in one of our squadrons in
Nice.
a CSS. And as she's a civilian airman and he's a retired airman. And they said, hey, we're so glad that this is open and that we're able
Yes.
to come here because this brings back great memories for us.
And that's one of the healthiest places to eat on the base.
Absolutely.
You know, one of a few. So.
Absolutely.
And then my husband was super excited too to be able to get in there.
Yes.
So.
So you got the DFAC. I continue to not take no for an answer at the Express. The Express, in my very strong opinion, should still be 24/7, 363, 64, 65. I'll accept that they need to close a couple days on big holidays a year, but when they're open, it should be 24/7 throughout the week. We did, as you recall, expand hours significantly a little bit more than a year ago, but it's not yet 24 hours, and we continue to be a demanding customer of AAFES there. We're getting resonance with folks that have a little bit better understanding in what remote and isolated is and means, and how organizations that have service in their name could better serve the airmen that reside at 93523. Now let me caveat that very fast with the folks that work with AAFES and for AAFES, to include John Anderson, your AAFES manager. They are phenomenal individuals and they're doing fantastic things. However, John and his team and I, as your installation commander, we're hamstrung by a lot of the decisions made by AAFES corporate and their board of directors. And it's that level at which John is continuing to say, hey, I can do this if, and we are continuing to be demanding customers of. And so potentially a few more food court options. Chief talked about the things that are opening up through FSS.
Yes.
We did a mod in the Oasis Community Center to get SolidWorks in there. COVID shut down the upgrade of that, but it isn't gone. That'll still happen. There are at least two, maybe 3 food trucks. Those are not random. Those are here on a reliable basis. So if you like them, continue to use them, and we'll incentivize that business to be here and stick around. Don't forget the bowling alley. Don't forget the golf course. And last but certainly not least, the club, right? Chief just mouthed, Katie, right? Yes, Katie, the club manager, would love to see you and more of you, because the team there is just awesome. And what they did as a frontline service organization through the pandemic was amazing and very selfless. And so I'm glad to be there. I'm glad to be back, and go have a meal there. I'm going to be there for Easter brunch. Family and I are going to go there, and I look forward to that. So that's a good question. I don't know if the FSS seeded that or not, or if somebody genuinely wanted to know, but I think we hit most, if not all of it. And if not, our next FSS commander will tell you here shortly, which is another topic that if somebody wants to ask more about, I'd be happy to brag on her and what we're doing there as well. Olaf, what's next?
So this isn't a question, but it's on the Tedx topic that PA did send out a link in the email yesterday. So if anyone's interested in looking about the 21 speakers, just do a quick search in the email for Tedx, and you should find PA's email, and it'll kind of help discuss and explain to folks what the topics are and who the speakers are as well.
Okay, so I'm glad that's there. The many of you that are watching the broadcast or will watch the broadcast because it's recorded and you can watch it later. You either won't be at your AFNet machine, or maybe you don't even have an AFNet email account, and because of that, we try to post in other places in other ways. So let us know. if you want to know specific information, text in your contact information. We'll get back to you, and we will continue to try to broadcast very loud and very wide on Tedx. Any other questions, Capno?
Yes, sir. We have another question here.
Go ahead.
There is rumor that a base-wide housing survey should be coming soon. When can we expect to see it?
Chief, you want to hit that, or I'll give my limited knowledge?
I'll go with your limited knowledge on this
Okay.
one.
There's no short answers for me. Let's talk housing real fast. Long-range housing solution for all of us here. Well, you need to go back further than that. All of you that have been at Edwards for any length of time know that the Aerospace Valley is often challenged to have enough legit places to live and houses to live in or residences to live in. So we've had a localized housing crunch, sometimes housing crisis, for my entire affiliation with the base, which is almost 20 years. It was compounded in the past 2 decades when we went from 1,000 plus homes, in some cases 2,000 plus homes. We have 741 residences on the installation today. That does not count the dormitories, and that does not count FAMCAM. 741 physical residences on the base today. So we're down by, depending how you measure it, down to 1/3 of what we were when I first arrived at Edwards Air Force Base. And I'm not going to count, moment of silence, the loss of the mobile home park. But we will talk about that separately, which is my first residence here. So the long-range solution there is more houses. In fact, if we could draw a circle around all those houses, right-click, copy, drag over, paste, I guarantee we could fill those houses like that immediately. That is a 5-year and out solution, which unfortunately right now is day-for-day slip. We are aggressively fighting that. The most recent hurdle that was slammed in front of us was a housing requirements market analysis, HRMA, HRMA. We're about to deliver that, and then we can continue to push down that pipe and that path. Our housing partner, the company formerly known as Corvius, now known as Mayroad, is very much committed to that as their second increase, but their first priority increase is actually the medium range solution, and that is completion or realization of what we call the apartment complex on base. The physical location that they're cited is between the Mojave Sky Community Center and up the hill to the club. There's I think it's Doolittle U or Doolittle Drive or whatever that name of that road is there. It's inside that U is where we would build out the apartment complexes. That's a 3-year, no earlier than. I think we can get to that, but that's also day-for-day slip based on HRMA and a couple other things, but we're making some significant progress. And I think we'll be able to deliver those units, at least the first phase of those units, before we can deliver houses. So that's the medium range. The short range solution is expanding FAMCAM. And then the crisis that we averted and announced were the 130th BAH for those of you that are trapped or awaiting your house in TLFs. So go ahead.
Sir, you mentioned Mojave Sky, and it jogged something in my memory. So did you want to plug the Key Spouse
Yeah,
event?
we'll absolutely. So we're
And I say that because somebody thought they had to drive to Mojave Sky, the town.
Oh.
And I'm like,
No. You don't need to drive to Mojave.
I won't say who that was.
Yeah, no, that's okay. So Olaf, I forgot the question, and I got off on a housing tangent, but it was housing. Say the question again. The most recent question?
The most recent question, I actually...
The housing survey is coming.
Housing
survey.
survey.
Rumor
Okay.
has it.
So I went off
Thanks,
on a
Chief.
housing tangent, and there's a rumor. I can confirm the rumor. There is a survey around. So the local housing crisis with those fixes overlaid with the national housing crisis has now driven the CLP, the Civic Leader Program, at the national level to do a survey of all the installations so that they can then deliver a report to Congress, or at least the DoD senior DoD leaders on here's how bad it is and where it's bad. And so that is those are volunteers that are collecting data from across the installations. We have a survey that'll go out to a lot of folks, so please participate in that. It'll be aggregated through our housing office, and then it'll go through the front office before we give it back to those CLPs that are working together collectively to try and give us some oomph to break loose on a lot of the restrictions that we have. That will be a component in getting us the the apartment project moving, and I think also the future demand signal for the more housing units as well. So yes, there's a survey. When it shows up, it'll be on the app, it'll be on websites, it'll be emailed, it'll be in PA announcements, and we can probably even put a link here next Friday to get survey results here. So PA can take a note on that. We'll give you a QR code or a link to hit during the broadcast for that survey. Okay, so yes, confirm the rumor, and that's what it is. Please, 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 please participate in the survey. And if you have any specific things you want to put in the comments, that would be very beneficial too. Okay, key spouse event. Long time in the making. My key spouse at home, my much better half, and I have been big participants and advocates of the Key Spouse program for many years. In fact, Leslie and I were both squadron commanders at the same time. And it was often interesting to crosstalk on what she was doing in her squadron with Key Spouse and what I was doing in my squadron with Key Spouse, because we were non-traditional squadrons. And what we had available and what we did way back in the day when we were squadron commanders to what's available now are night and day. I mean, it is so awesome today. Back then it was you should have one, but there was really no real definition. And so what we want to do is get the key spouses together with the command teams, plural, all of them, on a recurring basis with, organizations or people or SMEs to have crosstalk and enable crosstalk. We have scheduled at least 3 throughout the pandemic. We've only executed 1. It was very limited in number because of the restrictions of the pandemic and very limited in duration as well. Now that we're in a lull and a new normal at HPCon Alpha, there's an opportunity that was unfortunately short notice, but it is next Friday, the 15th, at the Mojave Sky Community Center, which is the company formerly known as Corvius, now known as Mayroad, in the 93523 zip code area. Starts at 1500, and we need to be cleaning up and out the door by 1700, so it shouldn't be too much of a bash because we only have 2 hours to do that. But it's the title of it from your new Key Spouse Program Manager. I think it's a great suggestion. The title of the event is called Linking Leadership, and the intent there is it's not training, it's crosstalk. And so we get key spouses that can crosstalk with other first sergeants, other SELs, other commanders, or other directors. Helping agencies will be there, kind of a facilitated discussion. Chief's going to be there, Les is going to be there, I'm going to be there. We'll have the new Key Spouse Project Program Manager there, and hopefully get some really good attendance. But it's next Friday. Sorry about the short notice. It was a great opportunity that I decided not to pass up on. I fully recognize that is Good Friday. All Fridays are good. That is the Good Friday of the year. And so if there's a reason that you can't make it as a part of the command team, we respect your religious things. Just if you're an SEL or you're a SHIRT, let Chief know, and so she can fully account for everybody. If you are a commander or director, let me know what your restrictions are, and we'll go from there. But if you don't talk to Chief, or you don't talk to me, and you are a director, you're a commander, you're an SEL, or you're a first sergeant, and you are in the 412 test wing, it isn't optional, right? We need you to be there. If you are a key spouse, you're a volunteer in every sense of the word. If you can make it, we'd love to have you, but if you can't make it, we completely understand. So that's what it is. Where it is really what topics do you want to talk about? I don't have any presentation necessarily that we tend to make, and Leslie and I fully, firmly believe and have practiced in that the value, the impact of the group is really the collective expertise of the group and knowing who's been through what recently. And so, for example, if Command Team A knows when they have a bad event that Command Team X has been through that a couple weeks ago or a couple months ago, they can immediately reach out and say, hey, can you come help us out? What did you learn? What can we immediately use? And those kinds of relationships are super valuable, and you can't build it when it's a crisis. You have to pre-build it and then use it when it's desperately needed. So that's what the event is, Linking Leadership. Mojave Sky Community Center on Fitzgerald, across from the CDC, across from Chapel 2, 1500 next Friday, the 15th of April. We've got to be out the door by 5 o'clock because that's a high-demand facility, and I'm glad it's reopened. And thank you, partner Mayroad, for hosting and enabling that there. Good put, Chief. All right, Olaf, anything else that spawned or that is rung in?
No question from that topic, but there is a question that came in from another topic here. Just to highlight that the full list of TEDx speakers were just added to the live stream chat. And the question that was asked was, though we're in HPCon Alpha, why are contractors still not allowed to use the fitness center?
So that's a question that, so the answer is contractors are not prohibited from using the fitness center. The answer is that it's up to the facility owner, in this case the Force Support Squadron and their flight that runs that, to decide how to and when to let folks into their facility and capacity, based on capacity restraints and commitments. There's no installation level restriction on that. but it is me delegating with full faith and confidence down through the mission support group to the FSS, Captain Liz Moyer and her team, to decide what, where, when, and why people need access to not just the fitness center, but to all activities like that. So we talked about already today, one of the great ways and places that we're allowing anyone to go that was not available at Elevated HPCon was the dining facility, right? So if you want lunch and you're a contractor, the dining facility is open for you as well. If you have base access, they'd love to have you. As far as the fitness facility goes, if you are a contractor and this is your primary place of duty, and you would like to work out or utilize the fitness center, contact the leadership there and see what they can arrange for you. If there's somebody online from MSG or FSS that wants to give us a little bit more in the chat, you're welcome to do that as well. But no installation restriction. It's a facility owner restriction. And when we have to triage based on capacity, we have a prioritized manner with which we have to handle the demand signal. So that's it. Chief, anything else you want to pile on that? I know your other half has 2 cards on the base, so I don't know which one he uses to get into the gym, but
Well, he's not using that contractor one.
yes. So there you go.
Just in case.
Yeah, no, that's all right.
But-
All right. There's one thing I want to foot stomp here in my closing. We're a couple minutes over, but Olaf, if there's something else that you think is urgent that we can't wait for the week on, this is the time to either defer it to next week or we'll just call it a Q&A wrap. Anything else there?
No, sir. Q&A wrap.
Okay, great. Chief, your thoughts as we close out this Friday, 8 April 2022?
Well, I've had an extremely awesome week, wrapping it up with today's town hall, and then off to see off my senior first sergeant, Sergeant Brown, who's retiring. So we got to skedaddle here in a second to get over for that. But yeah, just, between the AFSA conference and then just coming back, getting caught up in some of the things that I've been doing around the office and getting a chance to reconnect with people. I went to the BX at my lunch break, and there was someone selling a book in there, and I don't know what the book is about, and she told me it was like animal something, and I'm like, I don't care what it is, I'm buying a book. You're in our BX, I'm gonna support you. And just doing little things like that, I always get on a high from that. But yeah, that's just like the highlights.
It's great stuff. Yeah, so to Shirt Brown, sorry we're late. It's my fault, not Chief's, I promise. As sad as I was to see you retire, I'm gonna sneak out a little preview here. Those of you that missed Senior Master Sergeant Brown, you may get to see Ms. Brown here in the not too distant future. So I'm super excited that while I'm crushed we're losing you as a shirt, I'm excited we get to keep you in service wearing a slightly different uniform. And so that is greatness, and I look forward to hearing what you have to say and make us more learned later today at your ceremony, the ceremony for you. Folks, I'll kick out before I give my thanks for the week, I'll kick out one more or an additional. Use the app, not because I've ordered you to or directed you to, but because once the app gets to critical mass, the one app to rule them all, once it gets to critical mass, it will become more valuable to all of us. As many of you know, and hopefully all of you will know as you start using it, because we have a really close connection to the developer of the app, we can get new capabilities and features that maybe they haven't thought about or that isn't quite operating the way that a user experience wants it to. We can feed that in and get real updates real fast. If you want to know what's going on with a power outage or an emergency or something else on the base, go to the app. The app you can reach via links as well, not just on your iOS or Android device. And there's a chat line in there that, hey, here's what's going on, and you can even bring it up to our attention. So, for example, we had a power outage recently, and that was the way that we communicated with everyone during the power outage. Hey, we're aware of a power outage. These are the places that we're aware of. Is that right? And then there's a dialogue that happens. And then we get told as the person driving the ship or the installation, hey, we think power's back. And then we say, hey, power should be back. Is that not true? And in this last example, there was still one area that didn't come back up. And so getting that information quickly to CE so that we could work on the power outage, that's a very, very valuable thing. And the reason that we need it to be on that app, and by the way, if you want to bridge from the app to other things, like the 8-letter F word, if you want to bridge to that, fine, right? But the place that you're going to see us communicating and we want you to communicate back with us on is on the one app to rule them all, the Edwards app. So please continue to do that and let the app lead here know what you like, what you don't like, and how that can be better. I posted on there yesterday. If you didn't feel the earthquake, your shift, you weren't paying attention. We lost 2 amazing, bid farewell. We didn't lose them. We bid farewell to 2 amazing leaders in the civilian space. We're going to miss our now former CPO and our now former CSC. Huge shoes to fill for their replacements, but they will get there and get there quickly. But it was a hard day to bid those 2 farewell, and I couldn't wish them more luck and fair skies and tailwinds in their next adventures. But use the app, get to it, let us know how it's working. And with that, as my last push for the week, I'm going to say thank you. Thank you for everyone that makes this broadcast happen. There's a lot of PA professionals that enable the building, enable the broadcast. Thanks for everybody that takes the pictures. Thanks for the folks that post. Thanks for everybody that does the tech behind it.
Hair and makeup.
Yeah, exactly. I miss that every week, unfortunately. I always show up too late. Chief, thanks for being here with me as a wingman. Thanks for the front office support. Thanks to Sergeant Giese and Lieutenant Belongin for showing up. You may not have had a choice, but thank you anyway. And thank you to everyone.